Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining me. I think this is week 10 of the DCFS all related to COVID. So thanks again for coming back every week. Today I want to start with a few housekeeping items related specifically to COVID. So I just want to, remind everybody about the importance of following the CDC guidelines. As restrictions have loosened up across our state, I know that as I've just been driving to work or going to the grocery store, which I have not actually done, but as my husband has, he tells me that there are more and more folks out and about. And really there is an importance to continue to protect your family, the clients, the children that we serve, that you are wearing a mask, that you're social distancing. Over the last couple of weeks, we have had some positives at the county offices, and I got a good question last week about how many staff at DCFS have been positive for COVID, so I wanted to share that with y'all. So we've had two employees test positive. We've had 5 children, 3 of which were at the state hospital, 2 of which were foster children placed in foster homes. So we have not so far had a lot of positives at DCFS. I think that that's a good thing, and I think that is to credit to you guys for taking appropriate measures to keep you yourself as well as your family and the clients that we serve safe. So we want to continue to abide by the guidelines. So I want to also talk about a little bit of what happens when there is a positive in the office, whether it's related to DCFS or whether it's DCO. So a couple of counties have experienced this, but once we get notification here at central office, we coordinate directly with DCO. Mary Franklin's the director there, to ensure that the office is closed for a deep cleaning, that the health department is contacted, and what they call contact tracing starts to happen, meaning that the person who is positive then is listing out who they have had contact with. And then those people are notified so that they can either determine based on the recommendations of the health department whether they need to quarantine or whether they need to get tested as well. I think it's very important, and there'll be more information coming to kind of keep a record of who you're having contact with, but more importantly, it's important that you actually social distance in the county office. And I know that Mary Franklin is passing out guidance to DCO, and you guys will start to see it and hear it more within the county office, the importance of following the guidelines. That's to keep yourself safe, as well as to keep your coworkers and the clients that we serve safe. So it's very important that we're not hanging out in close proximity to each other in our offices, just like we've always done, and having lunch dates where we sit right across from each other, but really maintaining those social distance requirements and making sure that we're respectful to the clients and the coworkers that we work with. So I just wanted to put that back on your radar, and I know that everybody is anxious to get out and about, but making sure that even when you're not at work, that you're still taking precautions to keep from getting the virus so you don't spread it to the DHS office. And I know it's Memorial Day weekend, and I hope that you guys have plans with your families, but that those plans do include following the appropriate guidelines. So just wanted to put that on everybody's radar and remind everybody about that. Also, thank you to all the supervisors across the state. Today at noon was the deadline for PGCSs. I actually wanted to do this DCFS all Zoom, but I moved it until 1 o'clock so that all you last minute folks would have time to get it entered by noon, and I would not be the reason that you did not get those entered by noon today. So hopefully everyone met that deadline, and thank you so much for making that a priority. And then moving on to our 2 topics that we always cover for the Zoom, which are permanency and safety. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up the data so it'll be on the screen and share that. So hopefully you can see the data now. I'm going to go through a couple of things before we get to our featured. Yes, I am featuring somebody from the county offices. We're just kind of moving her just a little bit further down in the agenda today. But just going through a few safety topics. You know, we always talk about safety as it relates to initiation of investigation. We have a couple all-star areas, or superstar areas, I should say. Area 2 and Area 3, both of which were at 90% or over on timely initiation. So congrats to those 2 areas, and thank you for all you're doing. I will recognize that 5 areas are under 70%. So if you're in an area and you can see the counties there, it's really time to dig in and see why is it that we're not able to timely initiate those investigations. Looking at differential response, there's some great numbers on differential response, but a few areas that continue to struggle. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time there. You know, we always track our placements as relatives. We did see a little bit of a decrease, but I suspect that it was related to just kids not having relatives. I hope that everybody out there is continuing to make it a priority to really explore not just one relative, but all appropriate relatives that are appropriate for placement. And then I want to take just a couple minutes to talk about visitation rights with foster care and in-home. Yes, this data was based only until May 18th, but that means that we're more than half the month into visits. And we also must recognize that many of our families need more than that one time a month to visit, whether it's on in-home cases or whether it's on foster care cases. And so I'll just note that, I mean, now is the time, if you're not seeing your kids or families on the in-home cases, whether in person or through video conferencing, now is the time to make those connections, assess safety, and make sure that you're working towards some goal, making sure that everybody is clear on what the issues are and what you're trying to solve. So there are 5 areas under 50% of their visits on the in-home cases. The other 5 areas are still under 70% of visits. So I'm hoping that you guys will make these children and families a priority over the next week, and maybe it's a documentation issue. So maybe it's not only making a priority to visit the families and have quality visits, but also making sure that you're making time over the next week to document those visits as well. And then moving on to the foster care visits. Oh, maybe I was on the wrong one before. So I was on the wrong one. I had it in front of me, but we talked about in-home. Here's the in-home numbers. Just kind of scroll through these. Kristen made these, Kristen Harper, you received these in your email just a few minutes ago, so you can dig into them. So I'm going to move back to foster care visits. And I'll just note that 6 areas are under 50%. So really time to make sure that you're connecting with kids, using video conferencing, or if in person if necessary, but the majority of those will still be via video conferencing, and you're connecting with those homes, but also connecting with those kids. And I'll just put a plug in to make sure that you're making a point, if you have older kids on load, that you're really using this video conferencing opportunity to build relationships and connections with those older youth. So I'm going to focus on permanency today. So bringing up the discharge summaries. You can see that this week from May 11th to May 18th, that last 2 columns there on discharges, we only had 31 children discharged from foster care. And so again, permanency of any type is so important for our kids, because foster care should only be a short-term intervention. And while I'm not just saying run out there and push kids out of foster care, there has to be working of the case plan and working of what is happening on those foster care cases. And one of the most important things and services that we provide to parents is parenting education. Parenting education is really the cornerstone of strengthening family and producing future child maltreatment. So we wanted to focus on parenting education today. And Leslie Seaburn, Assistant Director of Prevention and Reunification, I think Cody Avera and Letitia Young have all been reaching out to the areas and trying to get a feel for how you guys are continuing to offer parenting education through this COVID. And so today, as part of our feature story from DCFS, I'd like to feature LaTanya Wells, who's from Cleveland County. So LaTanya, will you unmute and share your camera with us? Or I should say, share your beautiful face with us.
Hey, Misha.
Hey, thanks for agreeing to join me today, LaTanya. You are a program assistant from Cleveland County, correct? Cleveland County, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I hear that you have really embraced technology to make sure that moms, dads, parents are still receiving their parenting classes during the pandemic. doing some face-to-face visits. So tell us what you're doing.
Actually, I've been using the Google Duo and the FaceTime videos to teach the parenting classes.
Oh, LaTanya, you're breaking up a little bit. Can you, or I couldn't hear you very well. Can you say that again?
Okay, I actually been using the Google Duo and the FaceTime apps to teach parenting classes.
Great, and you're using Active Parenting?
I am.
So tell us why you are preferring Google Duo and the FaceTime as the means of technology.
Well, you know, with everything changing and everything, that's just some of the, you know, that's just the way to go now. You know, we have to make use of the technology that is available, and those are just two of the ones that the clients actually have. And so I've been using that to help them with their parenting.
Yeah, so it's been client friendly. Your clients have been able to use Google Duo or the FaceTime to make conversations and the parenting work with you?
They have. Actually, they'll let me know which one they think it works better for them. And one of them likes the Duo and the other one likes FaceTime, because I have two parenting classes that I'm actually teaching right now.
And how, like the Active Parenting is on DVD. So how did you make that work?
I actually, I'm working remotely at home. So I had an extra TV and a DVR that I'm not using. So on parenting days, I set that TV and DVR up. And after I get through teaching the lesson, I'll use the videos as the, so the clients can see it and have a demonstration of what's going on.
I just love that you got creative to make that work. So now this is the same Active Parenting that you've used before the pandemic started, right?
That's correct.
And so there's homework assignments. Like, how are you making sure that like the parents are engaging and doing the homework assignments? So tell me a little bit more about that.
For the homework, I actually made copies of the parenting workbook, and I copied those lessons out of there, and I either mailed or dropped off the lessons to the clients. So during the week when we finish with our class, I'll assign homework assignments for them, and they just kind of, you know, go through there, and I'll allow them sometime to kind of pick an assignment, you know, something that we studied that they may want to work on, because usually I'll assign 2 assignments and they pick one and I pick one, and then I usually tell them I want them to do a family activity. So they do that, and I ask the parent every week to come back with something that she's used for her discipline or something, the skills and the methods that we have learned and taught in parenting class.
And how are the parents doing? Are they able to come back and give examples? Do you see improvements in their parenting skills?
They are. They really are. They actually come back and tell, you know, something that they used to do as compared to now being in parenting classes. They're able to use some of the methods and the skills that I've actually taught.
I love this, LaTanya. I appreciate you so much being willing to come on and share, but I even appreciate more that you work through the details of making sure that the clients continue to move forward in their progress and strengthening their parenting skills. So okay. Is there anything that I missed asking about that you want to share with DCFS across the state?
I just want to share that, you know, being a PA is more than transporting clients. You know, teaching parenting classes give us a chance to actually interact and work with the parents, and we get to help make a difference in their lives.
And LaTanya, you are clearly making a difference. So thank you so much, and thanks for joining. I'm going to ask you if you'll hit mute and turn your camera off, because you're still technically a presenter. So thank you, LaTanya.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh, great. I just love LaTanya. I love her commitment to making this work. And I'm not sure if we've featured another program assistant, but I know that the program assistants, I agree with LaTanya, you guys are doing amazing work across the state. Many times have super strong relationships with families and are making a difference, not only in parenting, but in supervising visits. And as part of that supervising visit, really seeing the interactions between the parent and child, and either noting improvements or noting weaknesses that you can work on through the parenting education. So the PAs are making a huge difference across the state. I just saw, I haven't been able to keep up with all the chat so far, but Greg Moore just posted that PAs are the lifeblood of DCFS, and I agree. So thank you for that shout out, Greg. And I really want you guys, the takeaway from today on this feature of parenting education is that parenting education plays a critical role in permanency. And so without continuing to offer services, we will not be able to move children towards permanency. So if you have not gotten creative in your area to ensure that parents are still receiving some instruction, and hopefully that instruction is specific to whatever their needs are. So, you know, meaning if you have a parent who's struggling with a 14-year-old, not doing parenting education that's focused on a toddler and a baby, but doing parenting education that's going to help them be better parents when their child is returned to their home. Now, we know that across the state, parenting classes are a staple in case plans. And even though we should not be making judgments about whether to return children to homes based on compliance with that case plan, I also know that that still sometimes is viewed as a way to determine whether parents are ready by other stakeholders that we work with. So not only is it beneficial that we are working with parents, assessing their capabilities and making sure it helps us determine whether they are safe for reunification, it also helps us to advocate to the courts and to the other stakeholders that parents are ready to either begin unsupervised visits, begin returning children back to their home. Because if you'll remember, permanency is not just about returning kids back to their home or to whatever form of permanency. There are steps in that plan, which mean getting parenting education, demonstrating appropriate steps, and then moving to unsupervised visits. Just because we are in a pandemic situation doesn't mean that we need to change our best practices. And so we still have to think about more than just placement. We have to think about building and keeping relationships with children, which means really assessing the safety issues and determining if kids are ready to move to those unsupervised visits. So let me just check my notes here. I want to make sure that I didn't miss anything about parenting because my experts put together some great notes for me on parenting education. So just a reminder about active parenting. You know, it was designed to improve child functioning through change of the parent's knowledge, attitudes, and parenting skills, conducting 2-hour classes for 6 weeks. So really trying to keep that on schedule if you're doing active parenting. I'll also note that there's other avenues besides active parenting. So if you are responsible for making sure that your parent has parenting classes and active parenting is not the best fit for your particular parent, then really making sure that you know what community resources are out there for parenting, because you're in a better place to assess that at the local level than we are up here at the state level. So really reaching out to community partners, knowing what's available that would be appropriate for your parents. And then of course we do offer Nurturing Families, which continues to offer services to parents. So if that's an appropriate, you know, exploring whether Nurturing Families is the right avenue as well. I just can't say enough. I think as a state, we have been weak on parenting education, and it has been on the top of my list of things that we really needed to strengthen. But I don't want us to go even further backwards through this pandemic of offering less parenting education than we were before, because truly it is the cornerstone of a child welfare system of making sure that we strengthen families and prevent future maltreatment. Okay, so that covers my list of things I want to cover today, which means I have left time for some question answers, and I am open to any question answers. Now, I will tell you, if you ask me a whole lot of specifics on parenting, Letitia and Leslie, I'm putting you on warning that I might add you in. So, oh, I love all these shout outs to the program assistants on the Q&A. Let me check chat here. I know that there was a lot of shout outs on the chat as well. Let me scroll up here. Hey, Keith Metz gave a reminder that if you guys are doing great work out in the field that you would like to feature either on this DCFS All Zoom or even on social media, please make sure that you're getting that to Keith. He does a great job of advocating for DCFS and trying to shine a positive light on all the work that y'all are doing. Okay, I'm scrolling through. Sorry, hopefully you're scrolling through with me, looking at these chats, because I love all the positive shout outs here. Okay, here we go. What about parents that don't have minutes or data to do FaceTime, Zoom, or Google Duo? What are other options for parenting we can use? Well, let me just say this, that if parents are having technology issues, they have a phone, but they're having technology issues with minutes or otherwise, and that is a barrier to working their case. Yvonne, will you raise that up and let's see if we can support them in some way, because we don't want the technology to be a barrier. I'll also say that you may have to do some in-person face-to-face parenting classes where now you'd want to wear a mask, you'd want to social distance, but if the bottom line is if the parents need parenting education and the absolute only way to do it, or, and let's just be frank, maybe not the absolute only way, maybe it is a parent that needs more interaction, you can still have face-to-face parenting classes. And I know that several areas are still doing in-person, face-to-face, or one-on-one. I don't want to say classes, but one-on-one sessions. Oh, I love all these shout outs for the program assistants. That's great. I hope everybody is seeing that. Okay, let's see here. I'm just scrolling through. I'm gonna get to some questions, but I'm super excited about everything positive. Oh, so Wes, I don't know what area Wes is from, but he's been using YouTube videos to assist with active parenting. Yeah, appropriate parenting YouTube videos is a great creative way to do parenting education. I'm sure there's some great ones out there. Wes, if you'd like to share some ones that you have seen that are good and beneficial, please send those to Letitia Young or Leslie Sebrin, and we can add those as we continue to put out guidance for other staff across the state. Somebody is asking, did you get the extra phone for the office to do Zoom meetings? We did put out some phones that are Wi-Fi only for Zoom meetings. Oh, you're asking Yvonne. Oh, yeah, Yvonne, that's a, thank you. I'm not sure. So Yvonne, if you don't have one of the extra phones that has the Wi-Fi only with the Zoom app, if you'll reach out to Miranda Rains and we can explore that as an option. Thank you guys for adding that as a reminder. Let's see here. So somebody else offered the suggestions of parents go in places that have the free Wi-Fi services when their phones are off. That's a good idea if there are those places in the community. And okay, so back to question answered. Can you say which county has the positive cases being traced? Sure, I'll share the counties. I really didn't finish my summary on that, so thank you for the question. Once we found out that there's a positive in the county, we set up we being Mary Franklin and myself, set up a DCFS all and ask everyone in that county to participate in a DCFS Zoom. We alert them that there has been a positive at the county, that there's going to be a deep clean of the county, that the county office would be closed, and some other specifics. So you will know if there is a positive in your county office if that happens. Right now, the two offices that are actually, I'm sorry, I said two, but it's actually three. Crittenden, Jefferson, and Poinsett have all been the DHS offices. Those were not all specifically related to DCFS, but those are the ones that at some point over the last several weeks have had to close for a deep cleaning, and staff were notified via Zoom. We have an anonymous. Our office is not wearing masks, gloves, checking temperatures, and we had 2 staff that was quarantined for 14 days. I need you to notify your county supervisor as well as your area director if you feel like there are that no one in the office or very few people in the office are following the CDC guidelines, and we will work through that with DCO as well. I had one more update from last week's question and answers that I wanted to provide everybody. So one of the questions that I got last week was that how many laptops have come in. So Miranda Rains and Alina Garrison have been lead on the laptop situation. We have received 160. And several areas have already received some of those laptops that are getting processed to the field. So as we get more, we will continue to provide those to the areas and work closely with the area. Oh, Pulaski North is doing parenting classes via Zoom. That's great. Let's see. Just trying to make sure I don't miss anything. Okay, so I think that I'm actually a little bit early, but I am not seeing any more questions coming up in the question answer or the chat. So this is your warning. This is your last chance to ask any questions for me today. Who all is getting laptops? So it's been a combination of factors to consider on how laptops are being distributed. As you know, family supervisors as well and above have laptops. So these laptops are focused on family service workers. As I have mentioned over the last several times, that we were already planning on ordering 300 laptops prior to this COVID situation, with the idea that regional and local leadership could come up with a way to distribute the laptops to family service workers that made sense based on the work that's happening in the area. There are some COVID-related factors that are being considered, but it is not the only factor to determine who gets a laptop. So we here at Central Office are really relying on the local leadership to prioritize how laptops are distributed within the area. Some of the laptops will go to folks who have out of warranty computers. Some people with out of warranty computers will get desktops instead of laptops, and the laptops will be distributed based on need within the area. So really trying to ensure that those laptops go to folks that can maximize use not only through this pandemic, but also as we move through it and it makes sense for workflow for those folks to have laptops. Hopefully at some point, not this year, but over a plan of the next 3 to 5 years, laptops will be the standard and the norm, not desktops. And so that's the direction that we are trying to head, but that will not happen all this year. Will at-risk forms go into effect? Are we obligated to risk our health for positions due to being a family service worker? If you turned in an at-risk form and met the criteria and turned it in on time, you should have already been notified by HR. So if you did not turn in a new at-risk form, you should have already resumed your duties, whether a family service worker or otherwise. That does not necessarily mean you have to return to the office, but it does mean that all normal duties should return to normal. Are we obligated to risk our health for our position due to being a family service worker? I think what I'm saying is we are asking you that if you have not turned in an at-risk form and are on the list approved by HR, then we expect you to be able to do, just like all your other coworkers across the state, all the normal job duties that a family service worker does, and to take precautions as we've prescribed, whether that is abiding by the temperature screens at the DHS office, wearing a mask when you're interacting with clients, making sure that you're social distancing. But yes, we are asking that family service workers, as well as program assistants, as well as everybody within DCFS, complete the job that we're supposed to do, which is to keep children safe and to serve families across the state. And Tina, thank you. Thanks for sending out those laptops. I hope we can continue to get more as time and money is allowed. Absolutely. Getting laptops and having technology for the field as money allows will continue to be a priority, and we hope to utilize any specific federal funds that we can for additional laptop purchases. Anonymous, so not every family service worker will receive a laptop. That is correct, not at this time. Now, hopefully as a long-term plan, we have ordered 300 laptops that are mainly going to family service worker, but by no means does that cover every family service worker across the state. Seems like a great time to help other counties out with parenting classes since it is online, especially if some counties are slower and employees need to stay home for various reasons. Just a thought. At DCFS, I think we always work as a team together, and area directors do a great job of looking across their area to see how counties within the area can help out. And when it goes beyond the area, they reach out to us and see if there can be help across the state. Hopefully, everyone is still busy. We have a lot of work to do in child welfare, and there is not a lot of downtime at this time. We still have a responsibility to keep kids safe and serve families, and we still have a lot of requirements to abide by. We have not heard any word on raises. If you are an at-risk employee, will you be eligible for a laptop? That is one factor to consider, but not just because you are at risk does not mean that you are getting a laptop. If a worker is homebound, do they have to go into the office to pick up paperwork or any other things? If the question is actually if you are at risk, do you have to go into the office to pick up paperwork or any other things? If there are things that absolutely have to be picked up, or there has to be an arrangement made with the office, then if you can arrange to go in the office after hours when no one is there to make sure that you get that paperwork can be scanned to you. But we have had some incidents where an at-risk person was one of the people that qualified for a new laptop. You're going to have to go in the office to pick up your laptop. So I would say coordinate when you do not have to have face-to-face contact with the other employee. So going after hours reduces that risk. I agree with this anonymous. Since working remotely, I've been getting more work done than in the office. I work remotely usually on Tuesdays, and I start earlier and usually can't seem to walk away from my computer. Not that I'm encouraging that, but I do agree that for the folks, there are folks out there who are producing probably more work working remotely, but just making sure it's still important that you document that and track that so you can show that if questions are ever asked. Kim Sewell, I know about the cord issue with the monitor, and we are going to work through that. Did I miss the answer for if staff will receive disciplinary action if not following at-risk guidelines and going to the community? That is a possibility. So if you turned in an at-risk form saying that you wanted permission to work remotely, not have any face-to-face contact with our clients or with coworkers because you felt like you're at risk, but you are still out in the public having other face-to-face contact for non-essential reasons, you could face disciplinary action. I'm not sure what forms Ms. Moore is talking about. Although we submitted the forms on both occasions, we are obligated to be in the office at least one day each week. That is not correct. If you are at risk and you filled out the form, turned it within the time frames and met and checked one of the 5 categories, you should not be going into the office one day a week. These time logs are crazy. Why do we have to do this? Because you need to document that you are working, and they are not only for your protection, but for ours. And so, again, time logs do not have to log every single thing that you do. Like I have said before, if you are in CRIS for a time period and documenting in cases, you can just put working in CRIS because we could check CRIS to determine whether you are documenting CRIS. If you are sending emails, we can see your sent files for a time period and see that you are sending emails. But the time logs are not only for your protection to ensure that you can prove that you are actually working, but also for protection of the agency so that we can justify that work is still happening even though we have moved to remotely. Okay, our supervisor did not go over our evaluation this year as usual, because that shouldn't have happened yet. We have not gotten a point that you should be getting your evaluation. The deadline for today was for supervisors to enter evaluations into the e-system. Nobody has been given guidance to actually meet with employees and go over that. And why is it happening this year? It was delayed because of COVID. So we're a little behind schedule. There was a time schedule, but when the pandemic started, the timelines for entering and the timelines for meeting with employees were delayed so that we could work through other issues. Okay, a couple more. I know I'm over, but so Wes says, I use Zoom, but I need to upgrade so it doesn't kick me out after 40 minutes. I'm in area 5. So Stephanie Beasley, if you're on, will you help with making sure there are Zoom, not free Zoom accounts in every area? And so making sure that you know who has those in your county office, Wes. And so if you're needing that to offer parenting, hopefully you can utilize one that's already out there. But if we need to increase Zoom accounts, then making sure that that message is getting up through Stephanie and is looked at closely so we can consider that as we consider whether to expand to additional Zoom accounts that are not free. But every area does have some Zoom accounts that are not free, so they're over the 40 minutes. So Melissa is asking, when face-to-face visitation starts back, how will that look in the local offices? I don't know yet, but you know, I was just discussing this morning that, you know, we're coming up very soon on this being 3 months into COVID, and we have a responsibility to make sure that parents can actually physically see their children. And so we will start having conversations about what face-to-face visits look like, and that's already started. The conversations have started about what that looks like. And so I can't provide details at the moment, but the conversations are started. Any input that you have on that, please share with your supervisor so that that can be shared on up the chain, and so that we can have feedback from you all about how to do that safely. Are any COVID provisions or changes being made regarding wellness checks requirements as related to insurance discounts? I have no idea, but we will check on that. That is the first I have heard that question. So, and I have not heard any talk of that, but I just may be out of the loop on that particular question. Okay. I think that I have pretty much, I know there's continued hazard pay questions, but there is no update on hazard pay from the questions that I got last week. Okay, Arkansas Pediatrics only wants to send us videos of our children, do not want to do FaceTime or in person. Will this suffice? I do not think so. Natasha, that's a great question. I completely understand why they don't want to have face-to-face, you know, as Arkansas Pediatric works with the medically fragile children, but I appreciate you for raising that, and we're going to need to reach out to them and probably work away with them to make sure that we can do face-to-face or live calls with those children and not have just video. So I appreciate you raising that. Okay. So I think that gets us through most of the questions for the day. I know some still may coming in, but I'm 8 minutes over, and I want to respect everyone's time so that everybody will join in for each week. Again, if you have questions or concerns, please make sure that you're raising those up to your supervisor so that they can get it is a team effort to get through this pandemic, and I appreciate everything that everybody's doing across the state. And I'll leave you with this: every child deserves a safe, stable family every day. Thank you. Thanks again, and see you next week.